Welcome to the Evidence from the Field series. Today, we will learn about a TI manager working on a regional sustainable food policy strategy who navigated a tense disagreement between project partners. To resolve the conflict, she relied on her scientific and transdisciplinary training to understand partners' perspectives and find a way forward. In this story, we will hear a few key activities and tools that project TI managers can use in these situations.
Hi everyone, my name is Katja and I have worked as a project-based transdisciplinary interface manager at the university in Switzerland. And with this experience, I just started now to get involved with an emerging community of practice of transdisciplinary interface managers, where we collectively work through the challenges that each of us are facing in our projects. And today I wanted to tell you about a time when one of my fellow transdisciplinary interface managers really needed to flex their muscles and their role as a project transdisciplinary interface manager to make sure that the project actually met the transdisciplinary research criteria of scientific rigor while also staying socially relevant. So I call this story Stay Firm on Quality. For context, the goal of that project was to develop a food policy strategy. The aim was to strengthen sustainability in the regional food systems by leveraging the knowledge of diverse stakeholder groups. And mainly the stakeholder groups that involved working with a range of civil society organizations, university researchers, and also municipal government representatives to collectively propose that strategy. And of course, there was also this project-based transdisciplinary interface manager, and they were engaged with managing the interfaces between the science and practice partners, but also between the different scientists and among the different civil society organizations and the municipal governments. And this project-based transdisciplinary interface manager had also a really interesting profile, and that really benefited the project because they were trained as a sustainability scientist, having done their doctoral research on transdisciplinary sustainability projects. So they were really well equipped to work as a project TI. So when then the group was in the core research phase, they wanted to start discussing specific elements that should go into this food policy strategy. And in order to develop that food policy strategy, they had a couple of collaborative meetings between the science and the practice partners. And there was one situation where a member of a civil society organization was really very passionate about including one specific element into this emerging food policy strategy. I actually cannot remember what it was exactly, but I do remember that it was causing some tension with the scientists because that particular element was not backed up by scientific evidence. And in this situation, the TI manager's role really began to shine. For one, their training as a scientist, as a sustainability scientist, helped them to understand why the researchers were concerned about including an unproven element in the strategy. Similarly, their experience in transdisciplinary research helped them to also understand that this requirement was maybe coming across as picky and arbitrary to the civil society organization. So the TI manager understood both sides, the researchers' concerns and requests, and also the civil society organization's attitude and requirements. So understanding both of these sides and aiming to resolve the tension, the TI manager said that in this meeting, the group would not be able to resolve this conflict because there was simply not enough time in this meeting. But they would try to work on bringing a proposal to the next meeting for the group. And so after this meeting ended, the project-based TI manager did take quite some time to chat one-on-one with the representatives from the civil society organization, as well as with the scientists, and trying to help each group understand each other's point of view. And so through that process, the TI manager ultimately facilitated a productive dialogue among the three of them. And they also came to an agreement, and their agreement was that they would not include this element in the strategy because they really wanted to strengthen the strategy by sticking with the evidence-based approach. So the group of project partners then, when introduced to this proposal, approved that, and they all jointly decided against putting that element in the strategy. And so the strategy ended up to be very strong, salient, and also scientifically robust. So for me, the way that this project-based transdisciplinary interface manager handled the situation was really very empowering. To me, it reinforced the idea that project-based teams have the responsibility as well as the skills, and also importantly, the empathy and the authority to mediate conflicts in transdisciplinary projects. This PI manager also highlighted for me the role of using micro negotiations, what they did when they met one-on-one several times to try to create understanding, to use this tool of micro negotiations as a very effective tool for resolving conflict in transdisciplinary projects. And finally, in terms of quality, resolving this conflict meant that the group could protect both the scientific credibility of the policy strategy, as well as the continued cohesion between the scientists and the civil society organizations and municipality representatives throughout the project. And this really is what being a project-based team is all about. So thank you for listening. I hope that this story empowers you in your role as a transdisciplinary interface manager as well to stay firm on quality in transdisciplinary projects. Ciao for now.
Thank you, Katja, for sharing this story. As we just heard, it's important for project TI managers to feel empowered in their roles to move transdisciplinary projects forward when conflicts inevitably arise. In this case, the conflict was about scientific quality. Leveraging both her background in sustainability science and her transdisciplinary skills, the project TI manager quickly saw the source of this tension. Scientists cared about creating a strong, evidence-based strategy, and practitioners wanted an impactful strategy and felt that scientists were just being nitpicky. But the project TI manager used one-on-one meetings or micro-negotiations to foster a shared understanding between these project partners and ultimately facilitated an agreement that protected the scientific quality of the end product. We hope that you too can use your skills to stay firm on quality and do this in spite of potential pressures and pushback. Thank you for watching.